Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 23rd Abington Finance Committee meeting. This will be our final meeting before the night of town meeting, which is April 4th. Town meeting will start promptly at 7 o'clock. Please come out for town meeting. The Abington Middle High School gym, it will be prepared, it will be ready for everybody to be able to be there safely with the auditorium, not the gym, sorry, my mistake. The auditorium with proper conditions for distancing and public health. Masks are strongly suggested, as our town moderator has pointed out. So tonight we will go through, wrap up any recommendations we are able to make on warrant articles. We will make sure there are no warrant articles that anybody on the committee wants to reopen our votes on. We will get our final update from our town manager on the state of everything before we head towards town meeting, and then we'll go through our normal liaison reports and communication, sneak preview, there's no correspondence, and review of minutes, different sneak preview, we've got a ton of minutes to review. And that's it. So we're gonna hit the ground running. I'm gonna first turn things over to our town manager, Scott Lambiase, who's joining us here again tonight. Thank you, Scott. Do you have any last minute updates, budget, warrant articles?
There's really just, I think when we look at the warrant, just a couple of adjustments that we made, but there's, nothing significant. Really, I think what we have is our final draft or our final budget in front of you, and again, there's, other than some wording to add to this and some motions, I think we have everything done. I think a great thing that if anybody watches this and you want to get a preview of town meeting, moderator and I are on Abington Cable Access with a short 59-minute preview of town meeting. But please feel free to watch it, and we're also on Facebook with it. So
excellent, thank you so much. Just to note, from the last time that we had a printed version of the warrant that we were going over, Articles 17, 18, and 19 when we were voting last week were three separate road acceptance articles that we voted to recommend approval of all three. Those were combined into one article, which we were expecting, and I think we voted to approve as a singular article that was not written as of last time, but we knew what it would be, is now Article 18, which is the collective bargaining agreements. So I think as the only thing that we have not voted a recommendation on, I will look to Scott and I will address that one first. And I will take a motion for the purposes of discussion. Barbara's not here, so you can't all rely on her to make a motion.
Is this 18 we're talking about?
Yes, it's Article 18.
Motion to recommend Article 18?
There's a motion to recommend from Russ. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Andrew. Discussion. Scott, where do we stand with collective bargaining agreements?
so at this time, the Abington Clerical Employees Bargaining Agreement is set, and we'll be asking for $10,999.40 to be put next to C, Abington Clerical Employees, and that would be to fund the first year of that contract. And the Abington Library Association is complete, and we'll be amending that to read $14,790.87 to fund and implement the first year of collective bargaining with that money.
Just make sure, Russ, are you getting these numbers, or do you need them repeated?
I'm just pulling it up. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to pull it from what was mailed out.
You may have been copied on the email that has those numbers.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull them from there. Thank you. I'm still, yeah. Thank you.
And I I expect to have, on the day of town meeting, the Abington Managers Association wrapped up for you,
Okay.
but I won't talk about those numbers until then.
What about police?
I may, we have a meeting with them on Friday, so we'll have a fairly good idea. If we're ready on Friday, I'll let you know, but we can vote it at.
We'll vote it we'll amend any vote that we take at the meeting before. So one thing for anyone to remember when we're voting on whether or not to recommend this is that as the numbers come in at the meeting before, we will meet an hour before town meeting. We will take this up again at that time. We do need to put a recommendation one way or the other in for the articles being printed with the warrant, which has to be done by Friday. So.
And are these multi-year agreements?
Correct.
But this is just the first year.
Yeah, we're required to,
Yeah, so we-
from the first year through town meting, and then it just becomes part of the budget.
All right.
Because, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Where does the money come from?
It's raise and appropriate, so this was money that we had already accounted for within the budget.
Oh, okay.
So will it impact that 96 that we're looking at now?
No. Well, what it will do, it'll raise and appropriate, and it'll move into that budget, but it won't change the 96. It actually reflected up in the top at the warrant articles.
So what's the funding source for it?
The,
Raise and appropriate.
yeah, the
Taxes.
general fund.
General fund, correct.
So it's essentially part of it becomes part of the budget for each of the departments that it's relevant to. But because when we line itemed out the budget, it's not listed in there. We put it in the warrant articles if you look at the budget printout, anyone sees in that top line there, it's the money that's there because it's not in the detailed line item of the expenses in the budget.
So the drafts that we've been looking at up until this point, it's actually been included in the departments already. What we did is we backed it out of what we had already had in the earlier drafts that was just in the departments, and then we'll put it back into it. It's just a procedural way that we have to do it, that's all. So we had already accounted for this. We had, known going into the budget season that we were going to have these numbers for them. So basically, when you reviewed their budgets individually, it was in there.
But nobody
So-
claimed that when we discussed that.
So for example,
Other than
with
the school department.
with the library, I believe when we talked to the library, these were factored into the salary line.
Yeah, and I think if you looked
lines
at,
for the library employees.
it's exactly where it was in ours also. It would have said 2% or whatever.
And the same for the police?
Police is not in there right now because the police is, we weren't going into the budget season ready for that. These ones had been fairly well settled walking into the budget season. So we knew what the numbers were going to be. And we would have just left them in there, except procedurally,
Procedurally, the
Yeah.
first year of the contract, when it's being agreed to, you put it in the article for town meeting. The rest of it just, Mr. Moderator?
Theoretically, town meeting could vote not to approve these collective bargaining agreements. They could say, that's too generous, we're not going to agree to that, and therefore this money does not go into the salary item for whatever department. So the budget we approve in Article 1 doesn't include the raises. This article approves the raises, assuming they get approved, and then it gets added to the budget in years moving forward.
So Article 1, what we show for revenues as expenses does not include this.
Correct.
Correct.
As printed out. Originally, with the original draft of the budget, some of them did include the raises because they knew that, there was some contracts being negotiated or completed. But then we were talking with town council and financial officers, and in the past, this is exactly the way we've done it. We take it out, we don't add it to the budget, because we shouldn't assume that town meeting's gonna approve the increase. Most of the time they do. I don't remember a time when they haven't, but for procedure-wise and for accounting of it all, we don't add it until the townspeople say good.
But does it work the same way for all of these unions that,
So
No, because
when-
we wouldn't factor in money. The only reason we factored it in initially on these unions in their budgets, because it was already settled. We already knew the number. I don't know the number for police yet, so it's not in there. And
So the number for police, if it's agreed upon before town meeting, will be put into this article. We will vote to amend a recommendation based on the number. That number will get included into this. If that number is more than, is it
96.
870, then money's gonna have to come from somewhere else to
within the budget.
account for it. So
there
we'll
would be
have to-
adjustments
we will
in some
have
of the
to-
line.
If we're recommending approval of that, we would have, and it's more, we would have to also recommend a change somewhere else that would account for it, to balance the budget. Because that's what we
I
had.
don't understand.
What's the 96 number you're talking about?
That's what, as far as the budget being balanced, we're at a surplus
Oh,
of
okay.
96,870.
And where's the school? That goes somewhere else? Because they're doing a contract right now.
The schools in here, they'll have to work within their numbers. Or as I know, I don't know
Oh,
if
so
they've,
they don't go into Article 18?
no,
No.
no.
Yeah, I don't remember
Yeah.
The
ever.
budget's treated differently.
Yeah.
I don't remember,
There's all different
I
set
don't
of
remember
rules.
ever
Yeah.
seeing the school union contract
No.
as
It makes it
as an
easy
article.
to have this many rules.
Yeah.
It makes it like super easy to understand.
Definitely.
By law, the school budget's approved with one line item,
Yeah.
and the
Oh,
school
I see.
committee then.
Right.
It's crazy.
But they made it clear that they've factored into their budget the collective bargaining.
The school,
Yeah,
and I don't know the status, have they resolved it, I don't know.
but I
I
think
don't know.
what Scott's saying is like, well, if that's what gets approved, then you need to work, they need to work within that number.
Exactly.
Right.
There's no coming back and adjusting their
Right.
budget. Their budget's theirs, and it's done. What'll happen here, when we do finally settle on something with the police, again, if it's before town meeting, then we're gonna come and make some recommendations if it's beyond this 96,000, wherever it's gonna come from and how we're gonna do it. If it's after town meeting, then it'll have to wait till a subsequent special town meeting or annual town meeting for us to take care of it, and at that point, we'll have to make some recommendations or adjustments.
So you would still pay it?
It would get
They'll
paid, and it would get
reconcile
paid
it.
back to...
Special town meeting, probably.
Yeah, and then again, we'd have to find we'd figure a funding source.
I forget, is that every year, that type of article?
It's the first year, so it depends.
It's-
Every year, there's
yeah,
probably gonna be
If we
one.
don't have any collective bargaining agreements that are up and that get agreed upon in that year, then it wouldn't be, but any that we
Oh,
do
I
the
see.
first year that they're up.
So
that's how
the
they get
agreement, let's just say the agreement's 2 years. We do it this way for the first year. The second year, there'll be additional raises because it's been negotiated, but it becomes part
But
of
we
the
know
budget.
we know what they are.
Yeah.
And they're agreed to, so they'll be
Yeah.
in that department's salary line.
So every time there's a
items.
renegotiation, it gets handled this way.
Yep, they're typically 3-year contracts, so.
Okay. I mean, as the way you outline it, that makes sense, right? Because you can't assume the town's going to always say yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be very awkward if they said no.
Yeah.
Very.
Did that help, Paul?
Well, Paul, you can come by anytime, and Sonia and I'd be happy to
Okay.
sit with you and try and go over it. It may, it's governmental accounting, so it still may not be clear.
It'll still be as clear as mud.
It's
Right.
very clear as mud.
So we expect the Managers Association to
I believe we'll have
likely
an
have an
agreement,
agreement.
yes.
We're not sure on the police.
Not sure on the police.
And who does the Managers Association represent?
A better,
Managers.
a better name for that association would probably be department heads or department supervisors, because it is, it includes the deputy police chief, the highway superintendent, the assistant sewer superintendent maybe, the building commissioner, the health director, the veteran services officer, there may be one or two others in there, but basically it's a department head. And at some point in the way past, and I want to say it was John DiAgostino, from what I've seen in the research, that he just decided that he didn't want to have individual employment contracts with everybody, and they didn't have an acceptable personnel bylaw or plan at the time, so he had recommended that they put together this group, and it seems to work.
Thank you.
So what other questions do people have about the collective bargaining agreements?
So at this point, we're gonna vote for the recommendation with the figures in for the clerical employees and the library staff, so that those figures can be on the warrant that's issued, correct? And then we'll re-vote before them.
So we will vote on recommending whether or not we approve the article.
Correct, but the actual
So
figures
then
will
the
be-
figures, I don't believe will actually be, the figures will go into the motion
Correct.
that we make on the floor of town meeting. Like I will make the motion and I will say I move to, if it's recommend, I move to recommend Article 18 with the following
Gotcha.
funding from the following sources.
Okay, okay.
And I would specify for each agreement what the funds were. And Mr. Moderator?
Just a reminder, so the articles are basically putting people on notice as to what the subject matter is that we're going to vote upon, and it defines the scope. The motion is actually what we're going to vote on. So the subject matter, like, in this is a good case where it says, to see if the town will vote to transfer a sum of money. Right, because at the time this had to be printed, 14 days in advance, we didn't know what the numbers were because we're still negotiating. But at come town meeting, the motion will be, motion to approve, ratify the Library Staff Association's contract for $14,790.87, to raise and appropriate that money, and to go down the list as to which ones we're approving and what the dollar amounts will be, because we'll have that detailed later. Another example, like snow and ice, the original draft of the warrant said to approve a sum of money, but then we were able to get that in time before printing, so that it's actually in that warrant. If for some reason we had another snowstorm, Matt will stand up and say the first motion. So if that number changed from what was printed, he would say, Finance Committee motions to approve the article with the following amendment. Instead of $580,000, it's now $592,000, or whatever it is. And that's what we start voting on, is what Matt says, basically.
Okay.
So what are we doing tonight on Article 18?
So we are determining if we recommend that article or not.
With the information that you have tonight. So you'd be
Correct.
recommending approval of those two contracts for those dollar amounts. Between now and then, there's another contract, that's right, you'll take another vote the night of town meeting to let Matt get up and recommend or make a motion for the 3 contracts. And if that third one doesn't get resolved, then-
Or four.
Or 4, right.
But how do we know what's behind these numbers? I guess I'm trying to understand. It's a number, okay. We could have just given one person a $10,000 raise and everybody else got.
So Scott negotiated the contract,
So, yeah.
so Scott can give us an update on
Yeah,
that.
working with Labor Council on it, we did negotiate their new agreement. It includes 2% cost of living adjustments. there may have been an extra step or, you know, without having it in front of me, but it was nothing. The biggest impact and the biggest expense is the 2% cost of living adjustments to the members of the union, and basically the same with the library union.
So was it just the COLA, or is there any merit associated with it?
I don't believe in these ones there were any merits. There, you know, we had some negotiations on, you know, back and forth on amount of accrual of sick time and buyback, and, you know, there's a lot of other little odds and ends that go into them, but the dollar amount, the things that actually cost money, were the cost of living adjustments.
And is that for both the clerical and the library?
Yep.
Scott, can you give me those amounts again? I apologize.
Yeah, me actually just give you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Russ, you,
I'm all set, thank you.
Chris? Just making sure. You look
No.
like you might have something.
No, I'll leave it.
No.
Well, just looking at, comparing the 14,000 to the overall salary budget, it looks like there's stuff in there at about 3.5%, but there's probably, like you said, some buyout or something in there.
But there's also, you know, there's increases, so some with longevity, they have step
Okay.
increases that
Yeah.
are within that,
But
and there are
it was in
longevity
the range
things.
of what you said.
Yeah, so,
Any other questions, comments, anything? All right, the motion in front of us is to approve recommendation of Article 18. With the information before us right now. All those in favor of recommending Article 18, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstaining, it is unanimous. We have provided recommendations on all of the warrant articles for both the annual and special town meetings. Are there any articles for any reason that people think we need to reopen our recommendation?
and let me just point out something that came up on, just yesterday, on page 4, Article 10, the capital plan. If you go down to F, Strawberry Valley Golf Course, you see they have 4 items in there. The third item, the ADA compliance upgrades, that's not a thing. And the
I was gonna ask that.
and the $5,000, that's not a thing. What is a thing
Is
is tree removal and
$50,000 for
replacement
tree
for
removal.
$50,000, right? And I think, and it makes no impact on the budget whatsoever because it comes out of all
Comes out of-
retained earnings.
I think it's worth us amending our recommendation, reopening, amending. Is there a motion anyone would make?
Motion to reopen Article 10,
Reconsider, I
reconsider.
believe is the word we have to use.
I'll second.
Motion from Chris, a second from Joe. Further discussion on the capital plan. So the change that we need, strike the 5,000 from the amount column, strike ADA compliance upgrades from the department column, and change 4 to 3 for the tree removal replacement.
Increase to 50,000?
No, we're leaving the 50,000 where it is.
Oh, gotcha, gotcha. So why is ADA no longer a thing?
They never asked for it. I think
Oh.
it was a carryover.
Okay.
They are doing.
That does sound familiar.
Yeah, I think they did that last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's all I did, is just, it never got edited out. But as far as ADA compliance, they did do that, and they are doing renovations on the clubhouse, so anything that they do to that clubhouse would make, make it more accessible.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments on Article 10?
In the plan to fund these items,
Golf retained earnings, yep, hasn't changed.
but everything on this, the capital plan.
Nothing's changed.
So
So all of the funding sources in column, the fourth column, remain the same.
okay.
Anything else? Everyone else clear on what we're changing on our recommendation there? All right. All those in favor of, oh, actually, we had we probably should have had a motion already. We had a motion to reconsider. So
Motion to approve
There we go.
Article 10.
Motion from Chris. Is
I'll
there a
recommend.
second?
No, second.
Motion to recommend approval from Chris, a second from Joe. We had our discussion, reopening. Is there any further discussion? Without any, all those in favor of recommending Article 10?
Aye.
All those opposed, abstaining, it is unanimous. Are there any other articles that, on either the annual or special, that people feel need to be reconsidered for any reason?
Like I said, here's another example right there where Matt's motion, when it comes to the floor, will be to, Finance Committee recommends approval of Article 10 with the following amendment. And that will be the motion on the floor.
When we know those numbers changed ahead of time and we have the time to redo our recommendation, I prefer to do that, to have that on the record. So. All right, no other articles to reopen? All right, we are moving along. Are there any liaison reports? Anyone? Nope, no liaison reports. As I alluded to at the beginning of the meeting, the mailbox was empty. There were no correspondence. So we have no correspondence to go over. However, we do have meeting minutes. We have a slew of meeting minutes. We have meeting minutes from our January 5th meeting, our January 12th meeting, our January 19th meeting, our February 9th meeting, our February 16th meeting, our March 2nd meeting, our March 9th meeting, and our March 16th meeting. We are scaring our guests away by going over that many minutes, and I do not blame them one bit. We thank you very much for your time. Scott, Sean, thank you for your time as well.
Thank you.
Do you have any kind of announcement you would like to make before you go?
No, I'm just going to thank all of the members of the Finance Committee, because I hope the viewers at home realize you are 100% all volunteers. And for those who are loyal fans on television, know that you guys probably are one of the boards that meets most often and puts in a lot of hours, all for the benefit of the town. So thanks to each and every one of you, and I think the people of Abington appreciate your work. So thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Has the beacon just gone digital, or, you know?
I don't know.
I haven't seen the beacon in a long
I
time.
have neither.
I heard Sean's been taking it.
What's that?
The beacon?
Beacon.
The beacon newsletter?
It's a newsletter every week.
Not me. See you soon. Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. All right, so the first item up for bids on The Price is Right tonight is our meeting minutes from January 5th. Greg was not there at that meeting.
Really?
Yep. So Greg can either make a motion or vote on these minutes. So that those watching along know we had these minutes provided to us by our board secretary, Russ Fuller, who did an excellent job of going back through our meetings and making sure that we had minutes to both vote on and post so that people can see them. We reviewed them individually before that, but we can review them now as a group in an official capacity if we get a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 5th, 2022 meeting.
Motion from Andrew. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Chris. Is there any discussion on the January 5th meeting minutes? Russ does not have to abstain from voting on these minutes just because he wrote them.
Who seconded this one? Sorry.
Chris.
Okay, thank you.
So all those in favor, without any further comments, all those in favor of approving the minutes for our January 5th meeting?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstaining? There's the one. The minutes for January 5th are approved. Next up, we have meeting minutes for January 12th.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 12th. minutes.
Motion from Andrew. Is there a second?
Is there anyone here who has to abstain?
You and me.
Okay.
I was dealing with COVID during that meeting, and Joe was dealing with lots of stuff that he's been dealing with all
It's been a crazy
2022.
first quarter.
So, is there a second?
Second?
Second from Paul. Any discussion on the meeting minutes from January 12th? Without any, all those in favor of approving the minutes for January 12th?
Aye.
All those opposed, abstaining, 2 abstentions, the minutes are approved. Meeting minutes from January 19th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Andrew, a second from Russ. The same 2, Joe and myself, were not there at that meeting for the same reasons. Any discussion on the meeting minutes of January 19th? All right, without any, all those in favor of approving the January 19th meeting minutes?
Aye.
All those opposed, abstaining, 2 abstentions, they are approved. All right, we already approved our January 26th and February 2nd meeting minutes. So we're jumping all the way forward to February 7th. Big jump. Barbara, who is not here tonight, was not there at that meeting. Everyone else was there.
What's the date on it? 2/9?
January 9th, yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the February 9th meeting.
Motion from Andrew,
Second?
second by Joe. Any discussion on the meeting minutes from February 9th? Without any, all those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, it is unanimous. Continuing forward, we have our February 16th meeting minutes. Missing from that meeting were Russ and Joe.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion from Andrew. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Chris. Like last week, I will mention that it does not only have to be Andrew who approves the minute, who makes the motion.
Who's in
So
the zone?
I agree, just giving everybody the opportunity. Is there any discussion on the February 16th meeting minutes? Not any, all those in favor of approval?
Aye.
All those opposed, abstaining? 2 abstentions. The minutes are approved. Jumping forward, we are now into the current month, March 2nd meeting minutes. Joe, once again, was not there. He was the only excused absence at that meeting. Is there a motion for the March 2nd minutes? Andrew is giving people the opportunity, and no one is taking
I'll make
it.
a motion to approve.
There's a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Paul, just edging out Chris. Any discussion on the March 2nd meeting minutes? Without any, all those in favor of approval of the March 2nd meeting minutes, would say aye. Aye. All those opposed, abstaining, with 1 abstention, the minutes are approved. We jump forward now to the March 9th meeting minutes. Joe, again, was the only absence.
Now that one, I was in the middle of a margarita because it was my birthday before I realized I was supposed to be here. So that one was less of a good
That one's
excuse.
a different absence.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Greg, all right.
Second.
Second from Chris. Any discussion on the March 9th meeting minutes? The Joe's birthday meeting minutes? Without any discussion, all those in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, abstaining, 1 abstention, the minutes are approved. And our final minutes up up for tonight, our longest minutes, and thank you very much again to Russ for putting all of these minutes together. This one was definitely not easy because it was all our recommendations and votes and vote numbers, who said yes, no, and abstained. So Russ, thank you very much for those. Joe again was not at that meeting, so anyone else could make a motion.
Motion to approve March 16th minutes?
Motion from Russ, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Andrew. Any further discussion on the March 16th meeting minutes?
Can I just ask one, Russ, you did an outstanding job on all of these.
Thank you.
I just want to make, on Article 11, which says this borrowing will put us close to the town's borrowing limits per the financial policies that we are looking to implement. Is that, are we looking to implement those, or is that, I just want to make sure,
The we is the town, I guess collectively the town is looking to implement. At the end of the day,
Do you
it's,
want the minutes to say the town is looking to?
I just don't know what because I saw that it looked
I
like
think
that.
that would be a good amendment to the minutes.
yeah, I
Say,
do that, yeah.
to say, per the financial policies that the town is looking to implement.
And I'm sorry to bring it up, Russ, because
No.
they were
No.
outstanding.
That's honestly, that's why
Yeah.
we send them out and we discuss them, and we have this time to discuss, is to make sure that things in them are accurate, and if there's any question of a possibly someone misunderstanding what the minutes say, we want to make sure to bring it up. So
Exactly, and-
this is exactly why we do this.
Okay.
So-
And that's why it takes so long, because that was probably how it was spoken, but then
Yeah.
I have to go back and I have to remove as many pronouns as possible so that, you know what I mean? That's the
Yep.
difference between, in context and out of context, so yeah, absolutely, not a problem.
So, Russ, can we change the motion to approving the minutes as amended?
Yes, motion to approve the minutes of March 16th as amended.
I'll second.
All right. I actually think we have to repeal the first
Do it.
motion.
So how do I, did I just say, do I motion to repeal?
Yeah.
Motion to repeal the first motion?
Well, just, I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter, but where
Going in
we
order.
didn't vote on it, couldn't there have been a second motion with a second?
Yeah, but if we're voting on approving, I think we have to,
Because
yeah, no, I think you're right. I think we're okay.
Because I could say an extreme saying, I motion to reject
Yeah.
or not approve.
Yep.
And then we would vote on whether to approve or not approve.
But I think we have to take the first motion that's made first.
But isn't that the point of the discussion, so that we can see if anybody wants to amend them? So then we just vote to approve as amended,
Okay.
correct?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
a
not
good
sure.
point. Yep.
Because I think if we all voted yes.
Yes.
Then we'd have to rescind or
Yep.
repeal.
So I will put it as voting to approve the meeting minutes as amended.
So you're
So-
making that motion and you want a second?
Yep. So, no, I think we'll stick with the
Okay.
motion that was there
Okay.
and say we're voting to approve the meeting minutes as amended per our discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstaining? There's one abstention, but the minutes are approved. And that brings us to the end of our minutes and the end of our agenda. Our next meeting will be on April 4th. We will meet 1 hour before town meeting. We will meet at 6 o'clock. We will be in the high school. I'm checking on the room number so that you all know it in advance, and so that anyone who's watching, if they wish to attend that meeting, that's the wrong message.
Is the 6th?
It's the 4th. It's a week from Monday. There it is.
Can I ask a question too?
No. No, you
Article
can-
3? I'm still confused on Article 3. I drive by it like all the time. If this is is this what they're talking about? This flagpole right
Yes,
here?
the flagpole here, yes.
So we're gonna spend, I just wanna make sure. Again, I haven't gotten out of my car to like inspect. We're raising 60 foot, sorry. Is this like already money that's like,
So this is the Community Preservation Committee.
yeah,
is using community preservation funds
Yep.
to, let me just make sure I get the wording right on this. This is Article 3 of the special town meeting
Yep.
regarding the Excedra, not Excedrin or anything. It's the Excedra, which is the flagpole rotary area right behind us on Glenowitz Way. And it is $40,000 from community preservation funds to restore the Excedra. So
And
that's Article
only
4.
percentage
That's a
of it,
different
right? That was my understanding.
That's to get the
Correct.
grant to do the
That's
rest.
to, that's to access a grant that will expire before the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah. My only, look, I'm.
Your only question is, what the heck are they spending $40,000+ on?
Yeah, and
in
again, I
that
get,
spot?
like, I'm assuming if that's 10%, it's $400,000.
I don't know if it's 10%.
All
I
right.
don't know what the
Well, I'm just-
percentage is.
That's a lot of money. I mean, it is a larger circle, I
So,
guess.
When, I'm trying to remember what we discussed when the Community Preservation Committee was here discussing this. And we just approved the minutes from that meeting, so I could go back
It's the only thing that's like been bothering me,
and look through.
which is probably a sad thing. But like, I just don't.
I thought what was bothering you was the millions of dollars that we're making from marijuana retail
Oh, I forgot to
licenses.
ask Scott. Next time, I'll ask at town meeting.
And the recycling.
I will, for the record, I will ask at town meeting.
I think we should hold a
So I
special
think-
meeting next week to discuss this.
I actually think that it would be wise to raise this question about the et cetera, about the Rotary at town meeting.
Yeah.
Because I think,
In front of the town.
in front of the town, for a official announcement of what it is that is being done and what it is that the money is being used for, because it is money that comes largely from taxpayers. The community preservation money comes partly from Abington local tax that's on top of our real estate taxes, and partly from a state match, which, I don't know if everyone saw that message, but I believe the message was that in this past year, the state match was something like 38%, which is the highest it's been in a long time, so. That
And
was,
then,
that
I
was
just
good
remember
to
there was
see.
some conversation about like a pergola not making it on here or something. Anybody else remember that?
I remember that we had that at one point.
Yeah, but it didn't make it on here. And, but my only point is, had they picked this, out of all the things in this town that this body can deal with, that's the one that's in the worst shape?
I don't know if it's the one that's in the worst shape. It's the one that fit the constraints of the Community Preservation Committee. So one of the constraints, as we've discussed in a couple of our recent meetings, is that people have to bring things to the Community Preservation Committee and present them to ask them to fund them.
Okay.
And so they have to go to public meetings of the Community Preservation Committee to present and to do that. They have to they have to qualify, and they have to be within the constraints of what the Community Preservation Committee can spend money on. And that's both that it's applicable to community preservation, which historical, open space, there's a handful of things they're allowed to spend money on. The other is that it adheres to their budget and the amount of money that they have available to them. So one of the questions that always comes up is the Island Grove Bridge, which the Community Preservation Fund does not have nearly enough money to repair the island or replace the Island Grove Bridge at this point, but there has been a lot of talk as to trying to save up money towards doing that or opening up, trying to get a grant or something like that. So that's definitely one of the questions that always comes up with community preservation. And so sometimes it's a question of it's too much money for them to spend.
I would also argue
So-
that if we spend $40,000 on a circle, that's perfectly fine. We're never gonna get there. But, it's just me.
So I think that's I think that's part of the question that needs to be that needs to be asked at town meeting is,
Okay.
what is the $40,000 being spent for? What is the grant? What is the grant?
Sure.
What is the?
How much do they pay?
What is the other amount
Yeah.
from the grant, and what exactly is being done, and why
Yep.
is that necessary at this time?
Thank you.
So,
It's the only thing that was really bothering me, so.
so
Mr. Sala, did you find the room number for the?
I did find the room number. The room number for the Finance Committee for April 4th at 6 o'clock is room 1204, so 1204. So that will be our next meeting at 6 o'clock on Monday, April 4th, in the Abington Middle High School in room 1204. That we will then meet there and then adjourn to town meeting April 4th, 7 o'clock in the auditorium, at which time we hope to see at least, if not more than, 150 residents of the town of Abington, so that we can start right promptly at 7 o'clock.
They dropped it.
Actually, I think it's 75.
But I don't think it's officially until Monday, because I think they had to post it, right, so.
We hope to see at least 75.
Right, yes.
But we would prefer more. We'd prefer 150 or more than 150 people, so.
I think I was surprised the first town meeting I went to how little people show up to vote on, which is basically the entire year what the town's gonna do.
Yep.
You would think that, because you hear a lot of complaining, everywhere you go, restaurants like that, but like,
I think
why
more
weren't
than-
you at
I think
town
more than
meeting?
150 complained
Oh,
on
yeah.
the Life in Abington
Yeah.
Facebook.
You know what they showed up for, though?
What was that?
You know what a lot of people showed up for?
To make
Marijuana.
millions of dollars
Make
in
millions,
marijuana.
just throwing it out there. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn from Greg, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Russ, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, abstaining? It is unanimous, we are adjourned. We will see you on the night of town meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.